Welcome back to the episode, you guys. My name is Justin, the host of Next Album Please, and today I have Jairo Estrada from Death of an Astronomer. It is a mouthful. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you
really
for coming on. I, a little announcement before we really get into this. I am going to do my best not to fanboy out because I absolutely love your work,
thank
and and it yeah. So I'm gonna do my best to keep my questions spot on because I know we talked a little bit earlier, and I was super nervous to do this. Even my fiance was like, "Well, don't look like an idiot," just
Oh,
so
hey, no, that's all good. I can't say how much I appreciate the love, man. Honestly, it's really cool to hear that stuff. So thank you very much.
yeah,
Really.
no, thank you for creating absolutely stunning music. So, we'll just get right into it, man. How did you decide to just kind of go solo and write music on your own?
Um, it kind of happened on accident, to be honest with you. I was in a previous band from like 2000. I think it was like 2013 to like 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason, we just decided to disband. And I didn't want to stop making music. I know wanted to continue doing it at some capacity. So yeah, I kind of said, nah, whatever. I'll just kind of do my own thing, and it's been fun. It's been really cool to do things on your own.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that kind of like brings up like another question from people is like, would you prefer solo over a band? Because I mean, you have sole rights to everything.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's something I think about sometimes too because when you're solo, you have all the say and whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want musically and whatever direction you take with anything. At the same time, it can be tough because like any decision that's not a good decision is on you,
Yeah.
or it's the pressure's on you to make sure you actually create music and put it out, within a certain time frame if that's what you want to do. Um, it's good and bad, but I think it's definitely more good. I never really thought of myself as like a solo act, but I guess technically I am. So it is a little weird sometimes, but I think it's beneficial in the end for me personally. So
Yeah, nice. And I feel like you have uh like a high musical background, like prowess about you. So taking on all these different things like drums, because do you record the drums from an actual track, or do you program them? How do you?
yeah, the original plan was to have like an actual drummer, but of course things happen and
Yeah,
people just it just didn't work out for
yeah.
whatever reason. So I actually did program with a friend of mine who helped mix and everything. So he and I both programmed the drums. Especially for this last release, I programmed everything kind of just to scratch ideas, and then we went from there. But yeah, I mean, in the future, I hope to definitely have like a full-on drummer for sure.
Nice, almost like a Devin Townsend type deal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's an amazing guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Devin. Oh my goodness, yeah, he's absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that he evolved from strapping to where he's at now. So, uh,
Yeah, man.
what led you to Death of an Astronomer? Like, how did you choose that band name? I know it's like a cheesy question to like always ask like bands like how they got their name, but sometimes it's like a really interesting story. So, how did you get that?
No, it's not cheesy. It's not that interesting only because it kind of just it's like kind of an accident. But I was I'm a huge fan of like space imagery and like scientific uh, vocabulary or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was once I had the idea to kind of do my own music, I was like I kind of toyed with the idea of using my own name, but I was like, I don't know. So I kind of thought of a moniker, and then I was just Googling, literally on Google, just kind of typing in space words or whatever, and astronomer came up a lot for whatever reason. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, that's kind of cool. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. And then a couple weeks went by, and then I don't know why, but the death of kind of popped in my head, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It sounds metal, but it also could be something else.
yeah.
So then
It gives it a an enigma like type
yeah.
feel. Actually, I was in a band for a long time called Death to the Archetype. So, Death of an Archetype. So it's like that death of an is big. So
Yeah.
that's why in like you said, uh, keeping it metal too. It does keep you in that metal genre help you at least. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
music is everything. So, uh,
yeah. Yeah.
how do you describe for this is for the listeners and people watching on YouTube? What do you like? How do you describe your music?
I would. I usually when people ask me, I usually say progressive metal,
Hmm.
progressive rock. You know, it's kind of. I definitely would say it's progressive metal. For people that don't really know what progressive is, I definitely don't even try to go down that road. I'm just like, oh, I just like instrumental music, and there are elements of metal and rock, and probably some jazz kind of stuff in there too. Kind of electronic, like little hints in there. But
Hmm.
that's generally, I'd say, like a big mishmash of all that. But
Nice. So, prog metal is like really all the rage right now, especially last year and the year before.
mm,
And I feel what sets you apart from all that is the tone.
mm,
Your tone is first off is what I mean, your guitar playing, don't even get me started, like fuck,
thanks,
excuse my language, but amazing. Like it's so effing good, dude. Like you have no idea. uh
thanks.
as a listener, you see like guys like I think I'm saying his name right, like Tabasi.
Yeah,
You see them, uh, guys like him, and you're up there with those people. And in my opinion, I know, and it's hard for people to like really think like, really, like, are you just talking me up on that? And I'm serious. This is for the listeners, people watching. You are gonna get a treat once you listen to the album or the EP. I guess EP, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3 song EP. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's I'm looking at the thing right now. I know my screen. I move things around. I have a horrible habit of doing that, and now my
No worries.
my background, like your Instagram and your Spotify is all like way up here. But you have 5 tracks
Hmm.
on there, and uh, every single one of them brings something different to the table. And I think that's like the true meaning of prog is that. So you definitely nailed that.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I'd say that. I think the whole Prague thing, like, I think is like I always like sometimes I talk to other musicians of mine who also or friends of mine who play music, and they're a lot of them are kind of like, oh, how do you go about writing like a progressive song or whatever? And I don't necessarily think there's really a way to, because I don't really think of prog as like a sound. I think it's more of like a mindset you kind of get into, and you kind of it's almost like you're challenging yourself and the listener to kind of do something a little bit different from, if it's metal or rock or what have you. You
Yeah.
kind of step outside the circle of that a little bit. And it depends on some bands, they go really out there with it, and some bands are a little more subtle. I feel like I'm a tiny bit more subtle with it. I mean, at least right now, who knows in the future, but
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like it's not an overbearing project. I feel like it's very subtle, like you said, and I think that's what really led me to you as well. Besides the tone, was it was like a nonchalant, like perfect for people that are just getting into prog. I that's one thing is I highly suggest that anybody that's never listened to prog and never really don't even know what it is, this is definitely a good in between because uh, like you said, sometimes prog can. Whew, it's sometimes prog's a weird one, man. It really
yeah,
is. It
yeah.
really
And
is.
to be honest, I've always felt even when like my old not even my old band that I was in before, we were definitely a prog band too. We were definitely more on the extreme metal side for sure.
Hmm.
But like even when I was younger, I would write songs and like friends would be like, "This is really weird. It doesn't really have like a structure necessarily." And it wasn't until I got a little older that I realized that's like a progressive thing. I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay, I guess I've been kind of doing it without really realizing it." And then
yeah,
now,
and the structure is there because
yeah,
that's like the thing about prog is it's extremely structured. But for people that listen to 4/4 timing their whole life, oh yeah, it's gonna definitely sound off the wall.
yeah, yeah, and it's it can be a little bit. I mean, I feel for some people it definitely can be a little harder to get into than other. If you're listening just to straight, yeah, 4/4 or whatever it is, or verse, chorus, verse kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I like the idea of like when you write a song, you don't really know what you're gonna do anyway, so you might as well just kind of go all in, right?
Yeah,
Like just
definitely, definitely.
take
I,
stuff.
I I think our first real intro to now like modern prog and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this comment, but Coheed and Cambria, they really did, like, a lot of people say, oh no, that's not prog. Okay, technically no, but they did do this whole like weird mood change throughout their music, and prog is big on that. I mean, Tool obviously
Right.
is like
Yeah.
number one, but I'm not going to say that because everybody knows that, but I feel like the atmosphere, you have the same type of atmosphere as like some of the Coheed songs.
Right.
Obviously written way more dynamically, which is enough said, on that because Coheed's absolutely amazing. But
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. They are. They're really cool.
yeah, so your dynamic is definitely different as from that as well too. But your creative process, like you kind of stepped into that. How would you explain your creative process?
I get it. It depends on what song, but for this EP, a lot of the stuff was actually written beforehand. Like I just had random riffs that I kind of kept around, and so I actually recorded. I kind of wrote and recorded at the same time. But what I used to do anyway is I'd just sit in my room and just kind of play guitar and just kind of just jam on just whatever it was I was feeling, and then I'd eventually stumble on something that I thought was cool, and I'd kind of remember it and then go and record it and everything. But now I open my laptop, I open my DAW and everything, and I kind of just start recording and see what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes like you get somewhere really quickly, and sometimes it can take hours and
Oh
you don't
yeah.
really get anything. But it's a fun process either way, you know.
Nice.
That's kind of
nice.
I sort of allow myself to just be, don't do too much. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much how I go about it. I usually start with a riff, like just a guitar riff, or sometimes even like a keyboard little thing, and then start getting a feel for how that's going to go. And then once I have a couple riffs, I can start piecing together a song. And like I said, it could take a couple hours, or it could take like a couple days, a week.
Yeah.
So the EP itself was actually written like that. So.
Oh, nice. And so it's bits and pieces that you kind of like glued together, Lego basically, and created this
Yeah.
stunning thing. How was it recording that?
Recording was really fun. It was definitely challenging because it was my first time recording everything by myself from the beginning to the end. So it was on me to get the best performances and and edit some of the things on my own, and recording guitars and bass, and of course programming drums and whatnot.
Yeah. Painstakingly.
It was definitely a learning process because I was by myself. So.
Yeah,
and it was really cool. So from now on.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is we kind of taking a step back where we were talking about the solo stuff. It is basically on you and your creativity. Luckily you have someone that that's mastering your stuff that can help you program the drums, but that's still got to be painstakingly exhausting because I mean I don't know how people do it, man. I would love to do it. Like my playing days are done. Like I just don't have the interest anymore, at least like with a band. But I mean I play a little bit, and I would love to create my own music and create like a band and stuff like that, but just solo by myself. But every time I get to the drum part, no, I can't do it. I'm like, this is way too hard. But
drums can be very and I didn't mean to cut you off, but drums seem to be, like, for me also, to be like the hardest part, only because I'm definitely a guitar player, I'm not a drummer, but I always think rhythmically. So every time I do write a riff, I picture what the drums are going to sound like. So I tried my best to kind of capture that while programming. And then my friend who mixed it we went back and forth, and he was just like, yeah, we should clean this up here, and this should kind of be here instead. And so again, it was a great learning process for me, especially someone who again doesn't play drums, to kind of like a drum.
And the picture's always bigger in your mind too. Like you think all these things for drums, and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then when you finally put it on paper, you're like, okay, that's gonna drown this out, that's gonna do this. So yeah, drums.
Yeah.
Drums are definitely.
As guitar players, like we're always trying to think. We kind of want all the space, right? So you're kind of thinking, kind of draw back a little bit and say like, no, let the drums kind of take this little part here. You don't have to add, notes everywhere, kind of stuff. So
But
it was definitely a really fun, stressful process.
yeah, and you did it in an interesting way because the drums aren't super metal like some prog
Mm,
like instrumentals are. It you have
right.
a lot of jazzy bits in there and stuff like which I really love. Like your clean tone is probably like my favorite thing, and the drums that you decided to go along with this clean tone is like super crisp. So it, I think like dialing
Mm,
back the drums was a perfect decision, especially for
yeah.
digital conversation. Oh
Mm,
man, when you dial
yeah.
back and then let that guitar go through, oh, whew, it's almost like
Yeah.
it gives you, your hair stands up on your arms when you listen to it, and that's like
And yeah.
the main goal, right? It's to get people
It
to feel that
also,
way.
yeah, it's actually what it's funny you bring that song up because that's the one I usually think of when I think of like writing songs and like I think I go what I'm trying to say here like my sound I guess you could say is like I'm trying to go for a vibe
Yeah,
rather than go for this insane crazy. I mean I love writing crazy of course, but if you get like a cool vibe and just kind of ride on that for a while, it almost makes like heavier sections or really technical sections even like that much more
yeah.
intense, So kind of that song is a good building point for me. That was actually the first song I ever wrote for Death of an Astronomer. So and that one actually was kind of I had a drummer who I was working with at the time who he came up with a lot of ideas, which didn't really make it onto the recording, of course, but
Uh,
kind of gave me that mindset of like let me dial back a little bit and let every instrument kind of have their shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
your gap is, you threw that out there what in 2018?
yeah,
Yeah,
2018. Yeah,
2018.
like so,
And then, 2019 you gave us um indistinct indistant.
in this,
Yeah. And for some reason I'm looking right at it. I can't even say the word. But it you,
yeah.
are you planning on spacing the next thing out? I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it yet just yet. Like, are you 2020's been kind of the perfect. I mean, it's horrible what's going on out there, but the perfect time for musicians to write at least. So, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is,
Yeah.
are we expecting a new, EP or album or something?
It's funny. COVID actually, for some reason, kind of. I know it definitely did a lot of damage to the world, of course, but
Yeah.
and I was like when it first like hit my first. I mean, fortunately, I've had a job throughout this whole thing.
Hmm.
I mean, I've switched jobs, of course, but I've been working and everything. So I don't know. There are a lot of kind of things been going on. So I definitely have written a lot, and I've kind of had like a lull of not writing as much as I would like to and stuff like
Uh,
that. But I definitely do have I'd say have at least a single that is I would hope to release sometime early 2021,
nice, nice.
and then maybe an EP shortly after. The whole thing with releasing singles and EPs is kind of that's sort of everybody really wants that nowadays. It kind of listen to the entire album through, but I feel like prog benefits from like having an entire album because it's hard to cram all those ideas into one song or three. So I would say early 2021. You can definitely expect some new stuff. Like I said,
Nice.
I may be putting out a single soon, but it's kind of to be determined if I can just get it all done and I'll get the production for it done as soon as I can. So
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the whole album thing with prog. I feel if I'm going to listen to an instrumental, I want a good like hour long instrumental album where I can, really get my work done because I'm on this computer probably I want to say at least 12 hours a day
right.
minimum. And I have a full-time job. So it is challenging. Plus, I have my daughter as well. And it's so trying to balance all that stuff out. You need something to get lost in sometimes. And
Yeah.
prog instrumentals are probably the best in my opinion because it's almost like old school jazz. It really is. It's just a heavier tone.
It is. It essentially is. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's metal jazz basically. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So,
we kind of talked a little bit about your tone earlier. How long did it take you? First off, how long have you been playing guitar?
uh, roughly, I guess, seriously anyway, I guess like I want to say since I was like 12.
Oh,
I'm 30,
nice.
so it's been quite a while. Um, but I think there was a time when I was really taking it seriously, and then there was a time where I was taking it seriously, and then started seeing progression.
Hmm.
Um, I started playing when I was, I guess, 12 years old. What is that? Like early middle school, I guess, seventh grade, something like that. So um, I definitely went through a change, and like the way I was playing guitar definitely changed. Whereas like I was playing every day, and then every day became hours a day, and then playing with other people and stuff. So yeah, it's been what 20 years, something like that now. So
Nice.
it's been quite a
It's
while.
been a
Yeah.
while. Yeah, same here,
Yeah.
man. I'm 31, I believe. Yeah. And sometimes you forget, man. You're just like, wait, how old am I? I picked up a bass and I want to say about eighth grade. And that was like
Nice.
my first instrument I started playing. And yeah, the years are definitely long. So
You forget how long. I had actually
yeah.
figured. Like, wait, has it been that long? And I guess.
It's crazy after and in 20 years it's like it doesn't feel like it's that long, but then at the same time it does, and you're just like, damn. So
Yeah.
when you started Death, have like did you have a tone set in mind? Like how did you get that tone that you have for at least the EP? Because I feel like the tone changed slightly from digital to the EP.
Mhm.
So how like did you have like a set mind on or a set decision I should say on the tone?
You mean like guitar wise?
Yeah, guitar wise, because that your guitar tone, like your bass tone changes. I noticed that the drums definitely. I mean, they're programmed, so the tone is relatively the same. But your guitar tone is what really sets your music apart. And like, how did you get that tone without giving away too many secrets? Because I'm
No,
telling you, man, it's good.
no, thanks. It's nothing too crazy, but the first two songs, "Digital Conversation" and "Ethereal," both were recorded at the same time. So I think of them as kind of one thing. But
Oh, okay.
they were recorded actually on a friend of mine who actually um, helped. He helped record it. He helped produce and master, of course. So we used a Kemper for that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So Kempers are really cool. I've used both. I played through an Axe Effects and a Kemper for recording and stuff like that throughout the years. But for Indistinct anyway, I actually used all bias effects, which is a positive grid plugin. And I just kind of, it was cool just kind of going through. I took like a couple days to kind of go through and check out what sounds are on there and blending tones, blending amps, and putting different kinds of effects in front of the amps and things like that. So I wanted something that was going to clear because I feel like those first two songs, like the tone isn't super clear. It's a little bit more not muddy, but it's a little dirtier sounding, which
Yeah,
I like.
yeah, and I got that as well. I think that's why I thought that the tone had definitely changed. So now that you say that, it explains everything. That it definitely was not muddy at all.
Yeah, definitely not. It's just different. I
You
guess
you could
for
just
indie,
if you listen to music all the time, you definitely could just hear just a subtle difference. And yeah,
yeah, and
so
I think Indistinct was fun because I wanted tones that were going to be because I prefer like a brighter tone, like especially because this is all music is all seven string, so
yeah.
not crazy tuned low. I mean, for two songs, it is tuned to drop A, so it's a little bit lower there.
Woo.
But yeah, so I wanted something clear, and I wanted something kind of quote unquote genty tone sort of, but I wanted it to be I wanted to have that bite that the gent tones kind of tend to have, and then I wanted to have the cleans be really clean, very like glassy almost.
Yeah.
So obviously there's lots of reverb on there, lots of delay and everything. So I just wanted the guitar parts to kind of stick out somehow. Um, and it may change in the future. May we'll see. So
Yeah, and the clean gent has such a punchy like aspect to it. I absolutely when you get a breakdown that is nothing but clean gent. Oh my god, it's freaking amazing. So
yeah,
that's awesome. Then I'm glad that you have the knowledge, because not a lot of people know that it's so much easier to record and have great sound now without spending so much money.
Mm.
You know, like, I mean, yeah, you know, some of these programs out there are a little expensive, but it's worth it and it's
Yeah,
yours, you know. You get to
yeah,
keep it forever. You don't have to go to a studio anymore. So that's sick.
definitely, yeah, for
That's sick.
sure.
Well, I'm glad that you found that tone because even though digital was super clean, even though like you said, you can hear just a little bit of the difference.
Mm.
The tone, I think you've really found it, and I feel like going on, it's only either a gonna get better or stay the same. Which either way, I mean, I'm cool with, man. I love it. I love it.
Cool. I mean,
Uh,
we'll see. I definitely like. I was actually talking to a friend about it today. Is I actually really like taking time and like just messing with tone just for the sake of it, you know. And sometimes that's actually how I found the tone, like the main rhythm tone on all those songs on Indistinct is just kind of messing around and just sort of dialing different things in and just seeing what sounds better. And I really like doing that just for fun. So you know, it may, like I said, may change for the next release. It may be slightly similar. I don't want to. I don't want everything to sound the same all the time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it might be slightly different. So we'll see how it goes.
Your music's kind of like, uh, for lack of a better term, onion. You know, you're peeling all these layers off, man. You're taking the time to really like focus and hone in on your craft, and you can hear it, you could feel it, you know. And that's like the main reason why you guys do this, you know. I mean, as a musician myself, I can honestly say that is the main reason. You're not here to put out as many albums as you can to get paid. You're here to put out something that people can go, oh man, like, and that's basically what I got from it. Like I said, I don't want to fanboy out too much because I'm telling you, I will.
It's cool, man. Thank you. I agree. I definitely agree with the whole thing because yeah, I feel like that's what I was saying like earlier, like prog. I mean, like I said, prog can really be anything you want. So you could write a whole song that's just verse, chorus, verse, and still have a progressive element to it.
Yeah.
Just me personally, I kind of like mixing that with some other things. Just kind of try to stand out as well as I can, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of the beauty of it. And yeah, you're right. Though a lot of people do write music just to just to have it out and just put it out like that sort of extra care isn't really there for it sometimes. But
Yeah, and you could definitely hear it too.
yeah.
So your has your musical journey had like a deliberate direction, or did you kind of like evolve over time?
Um, I, I like to hope, I like to think I evolved in some way. But, I mean, when I first started, like when I first started taking like songwriting, anyway, seriously, I guess that's kind of how I look at myself as a songwriter. I guess is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Is the way I make music. But I always kind of I really like doing things that kind of sound a little weird, like atonal riffs sometimes, or riffs that I'm a huge fan of, obviously, you know, Animals as Leaders and
Oh
Between
yeah.
the Bigger and Me and, you know, Meshuggah. And one thing obviously those bands all have in common is they definitely don't do what every other metal band does just because, you know, they kind of want to stand out from the pack, right? So I feel like I've definitely learned from bands like that, and just like the way they think sometimes. Not that I'm trying to sound like anyone, but
Oh no, and you don't. You don't. You have your own style, man. You don't have to worry about that.
they definitely push that envelope of I don't think I necessarily push the envelope when it comes to like technicality necessarily, but like just trying to stand out from everybody else and not sound like the same old thing, you know. I think when I was a little younger, I was kind of, maybe I thought I should fit into certain things, and now I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever it sounds like is what it sounds like, you know.
And the thing is, you know, you mentioning Meshuggah, you know, when they came out, I want to say that was like when I really got into like the Lamb of God and stuff like that, and
Yeah, yeah.
Meshuggah and Lamb of God, I think, toured together, and I remember hearing, no, it wasn't Meshuggah, it was Gojira.
Gojira. Oh,
And
awesome band. Yeah.
yeah, and when that was my first taste of true metal prog, because I've heard Tool before, and Tool's absolutely incredible, you know, like unstoppable force right there. But to hear Gojira for the first time
Mm.
and hear, Gent for the first time or Prague for the first time, I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, and then slowly, I guess evolved as well into, really accepting that music because it does stand out.
It
It
does, yeah.
it now I think it's more accepted.
Mm.
Early 2018, definitely 2017, it was not. Like a lot of people hated on Meshuggah, a lot of people hated on bands like that. Between the Buried and Me, definitely evolved over time.
Yeah,
Their sound is completely different from when they started,
definitely.
and yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, like evolving is like a very important thing, for a band to do, and I feel like you did because digital is definitely different than the EP. It's
Yeah,
absolutely different.
I would say so. I think I feel like digital conversation, like the oh, I think one thing I should say is I think all my music kind of has in common is like certain parts like it doesn't start out super heavy and then stays heavy and then kind of quiets down. It's sort of spurts of you know cleans or heavy parts kind of come in. But digital again is interesting because I don't really know where that song was going to go at the beginning. I kind of had that like the breakdown you hear at the end.
Uh-huh.
I think was probably the very first thing I ever wrote for that.
Oh wow.
So I wasn't sure like, hey, should this start with that or whatever? And then the clean parts kind of took over, and I was like, this could be cool to kind of lead into like a heavy part instead of starting out heavy and kind of throwing people for a loop a little bit. Um, yeah, evolution honestly is everything, man. Like, obviously there are a lot of people who don't want bands to change at all; they want them to
Yeah.
stay and not. And some people hate when bands don't evolve, and they kind of like they do kind of cater to what fans want, I guess. But I mean, yeah, like it's like saying, of course, BT band bands like that, they definitely are doing something that they know like they really want to do. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, I think it's the best way to go about it, honestly.
Yeah, and that like that again, we kind of take a step back and from the earlier the conversation, that really proves your creative process. That proves like, hey, like I started this song off by the ending and breakdown. Like, you totally went backwards on that thing, or maybe not even just backwards. You just went all over the place. That's super interesting to me because I would, personally, I could never do that.
Mm.
I maybe can move things around slightly, but I don't know, man. To jump around like that, it really does have to take some sort of talent because now you're able to write all these little bits and pieces and just throw them on a wall and see which one sticks and then go from there. Like that's incredible, incredible.
Yeah, thanks. I think like Indistinct, I think was kind of where I started. Like I said, I really sat down and wrote and recorded all at the same time with that. So I kind of when demoing stuff, I was kind of like, I really thought about it, and I was kind of like, this part sounds like it should go with this part, and then I can't think of an example from one particular song, but I guess like the intro to the title track, Indistinct. Um, I had like a few riffs from that, and that song ended up sounding totally different from how it first started.
Oh,
Like
really?
it didn't sound anything like that. And that intro riff, like that intro clean little thing, did not exist until I actually sat down and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like I'm not really too into how this song is going. As soon as that was written, everything else kind of wrote itself almost because it kind
Nice.
of I figured out exactly where things should go. I mean, again, it takes time and it can be stressful, but if you're willing to sit down and kind of beat yourself up a little bit, not too much.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. But I feel like the fact that you take your time and you don't have a rush, like not even a little bit in any of your tracks, and by rush I mean you're not rushed. I mean because you can get a rush from listening to this, but what I'm saying is basically you can take a year to write one track,
mm,
and it's like when you're finally done with it and finally like good with it, oh man, like I can hear it, I can see it, with especially with the two tracks from 2018.
mm,
It's you took a whole year to write these two tracks,
mm.
and produce them, and even in 2019 with the EP, three tracks, in one year. Some people may think, oh, that's it, what, but when you listen to them, you go, that's why, because it's delicately done.
Yeah, and I think especially since like I think like with every musician, like you probably think this is my music. I want it to sound at least somewhat what I want to sound like, right?
Yep.
So like I said, it wasn't like, it's like I didn't have like anything like booked that I had to be there for, so I had to hurry this up. But I just wanted the songs to kind of just sound like me. I don't really know what me sounds like yet. I think with time I'll start learning what that is, but I just wanted to kind of just make some songs that I thought would be cool, and maybe other people will. So I'm glad that people do like it. I'm glad you like it. Thank you very
Oh
much.
yes, yeah. No, no ifs, ands, or buts there, man. I play that. I play your EP at least once a week, just because I have so many things going on, like different bands that I have to listen to and stuff like that to do reviews on. But I always find myself going, okay, Synthesis. I'm putting this on. I'm putting this on. 'Cause that's my favorite one. Out of the EP, Synthesis is my favorite one. Pulse was, yeah, Pulse was, and then what I don't know, Synthesis I just keep going back to. But you're an older dude like myself. How do you feel about the internet's impact on the music industry? I know it's like a weird question to ask, because
That's a good question. I think about that sometimes too. Is I think as we go along, kind of with time and the way things evolve and everything, I feel like music's always going to be around. People are always going to gravitate towards it. But I do think the relationship with music has changed for a lot of people. Not to say that it's really a bad. I mean, to me, it's kind of, I listen to music the way I listen to it. I latch on to a band or a style or whatever, and kind of just go to that. But I think with the internet, everybody kind of wants to listen to whatever is really big right now, I guess. Like, not to put anybody, like, not to say any music's bad or anything like that, but I feel like people cater to whatever's big online.
Yep.
So if there's not a band or an artist or whatever, a sound is big, everybody wants that. And then once that kind of dies off, then everybody moves on to something else. Yeah. So I guess it's not really anything different than what we've always had. Just the internet is just kind of, everything is there all the time, no matter, whatever you want it, as much of it as you want. I think it's good and bad, I guess. Probably more good because you have access to it whenever you want.
Yeah, but you make a very valid point that people need to catch on to, is you write music to where you absolutely 100% love that song. That's the only way you release it. We have music now, like you said, all the time. It's forever on there. Super simple to put on. You don't need a record label. So why the hell are we still having bands and artists come out with crappy albums, and where you could just tell like there was no thought in it, you know what I mean? So you kind of saying that, like, well, the internet just kind of opened up this huge ass book of all this music. It just, I guess what I'm trying to say is, listeners and people watching from YouTube, please take this man's advice and do everything at a slower pace. It will pay off. I'm guaranteeing it.
I mean, it's actually really funny because I don't know if you saw that or heard about the whole thing with Spotify with the CEO, whatever, saying about the whole, like, you can't put out albums every 3-4 years because you're just not going to survive, whatever. I mean, I definitely took that with a grain of salt, but I think what he was trying to say is, like, you kind of have to be a little more active than, like, you can't really ride the coattails of the music for so long. But then you think about it, well, I mean, if COVID wasn't a thing right now, they'd probably release music, at least bands would, go on tour for like the rest of the year, come back home, probably write another one, put that out, the following year, whatever it is. But I think, with certain apps like that, like, TikTok and whatever, I like that stuff, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of people making music specifically for that, to kind of, to catch people for those couple seconds with the videos on, and then go from there, which I think it's good. If that's your hustle, that's cool. But for me personally, like,
marketing wise,
it's
brilliant.
Different. Oh yeah, marketing. That's why it's a hustle, and people who are hustling that way, it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know if every kind of music can really work that way. I don't think prog can really work that way.
No.
I don't really think metal or rock can really operate that way either.
No, and I think I was actually talking with an artist who I think it was on a podcast. I'm pretty sure it was. Oh yeah, it was Shaliff on their podcast. Basically putting out singles, is the way to go now. Singles and EPs, because like you said earlier in the podcast, nobody takes time to really listen to an album anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like, as a fellow human being, our attention spans
Mm.
suck.
Yeah, it's true.
you know,
Yeah.
it's horrible. So putting out these singles every month or an EP 2 times a year or maybe even 3 times a year is right now with how the internet is, it's the best way to go.
Yeah, it's the best way to go. I think it's definitely like I said, if you're like a solo, if I guess it depends on what kind of music you make, but I feel like it's possible. It's just like you really have to manage your time
Yeah.
really, really well. Because I mean, again, like if you have a job or if you're a full time artist and that's what you do, like you make music only, you don't have a full time job or whatever it is, you could probably make that happen. It's
Yeah.
probably pretty. Um, but I think a lot of bands, again, because unless they're not worried about touring, going out that way, and they can make their money on streaming, then it's probably the way to go for them. But again, I think especially in metal, bands kind of need to tour, because they need that sort of live interaction.
Oh yeah.
That's how. Because I mean, let's be honest, like metal, really, metal, maybe even certain rock bands don't really make as much from streaming as
Oh, definitely.
types of music. And I'm a lover of all kinds of music, but I feel like when it comes to this style of music, it's harder for us to kind of break into that world a little bit more. But we'll see
Yeah.
what happens. Maybe we can.
Yeah, it's definitely a different time. So streaming might be like the main way to go. I hope not, because I tell you right now, if I slam dance in the middle of my living room right now, my cat may go flying. The thing is you're absolutely right. Metal and rock and punk and all this stuff, it doesn't really go well with the streaming aspect. Right now, we kind of have to have it because we're almost fiending right now for music. Like people are just going nuts, especially for shows. And then I keep seeing bands on my Instagram throwing up these flyers because in their state they're allowed to do it now. And it's like, California, come on, like get your shit together. Let's do this.
Yeah, I think honestly, yeah, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday too. Is honestly, shows are like, it's almost weird to like think about like, wow, shows, man, it was so long ago. It's like, because I was actually at a show right when COVID became such a big problem. I actually saw Tame Impala at the
oh, nice.
Forum. Yeah, it was really cool. And I was supposed to go to another show the night after. The next morning, all these, social media, whatever bands are canceling shows, canceling tours. I was like, oh my God.
So like, what the hell's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's honestly, it's been so long. It's kind of weird to like think like, wow, I can't believe I haven't been to a show or anything since March,
Yeah. And I keep seeing this meme about a band's first show, and then all of a sudden it shows this huge crowd doing the wall of death, just slamming into each other. And it's like how every band thinks their first show's gonna go after COVID. It's funny.
It might be that way. I mean, I think people are so hungry for shows.
Yeah.
To be honest, even around like I don't know what the local scene for you is, but here in LA, it's like the local scene can be kind of hit or miss. I feel like shows are gonna be packed no matter what because people are just they want to go out and actually see live music.
Yeah.
So it might be a really good thing, honestly.
Yeah, I think because I'm in between Fresno and Stockton, so I have a pretty big range. I'm about 2 hours from Sacramento, so I either way, hopefully when shows go up, somebody throws something good. Because I mean, I don't know, man. I may even go to a damn country show just to get a show under my belt.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people are kind of putting out tours in Europe. I keep seeing a lot of that. So maybe Europe will be the first market they hit, and then when things get better here in the States, then we'll get like full tours going through. So
we're getting there. It's a slow process, but we're getting there. We've been through a lot of stuff, as humans and stuff. So we'll definitely get there sooner or later. But
yeah, for sure.
For you though, are you planning on performing at all, in the future, or are you just going to be, kind of kicking back in the studio a little bit more?
No, I definitely, to be honest, I actually had 2 shows booked like before this whole
nice.
thing. Yeah, and it was when it was like later in March when the first show would have been, and I had to cancel it because that's when again all shows were being canceled, and then bars weren't closing yet. but I kind of felt like, okay, it's probably not safe to do this, so let me just cancel it. And then the second one was well into lockdown, so
Yeah.
obviously it wasn't going to happen. But I definitely, honestly, my first thing, I would really like to start playing some shows just locally, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Maybe
Nice.
go out of state and stuff like that, but kind of both. Definitely, I want to put out more music, of course, and then definitely hit the live show market as much as I can when I can.
So we talked a lot about, tone. We talked a lot about, this is like the fastest this 45 minutes has ever gone for me. Like usually, like I'm not saying anything bad about the podcast, but sometimes they kind of drag a little bit. And then, but damn, I was like, I told, like I said from the beginning of the podcast, I was like, oh God, I can't wait to talk to this dude. Cause it's like, yeah, I just wanted to know the tone. Like that was like my main thing. I kept telling my fiance too. I was like, the tone, I want to know. But, we talked a lot about your, you and you as a musician and stuff. And, basically what's next is hopefully shows if everything lifts, and then hopefully, at least a single in the beginning of the year, or, first 3 months or whatnot.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. Okay. I'm confident that it'll be coming. Something will be coming out pretty soon. Like I said, it all depends on. I had a lot of ideas for certain releases actually at the beginning of this year. I was kind of in like talks with myself of like putting out either 2 EPs or like maybe working on a full length, but then maybe putting out a couple singles here and there. So we'll see how it goes. I definitely have a lot of material to go over and organize as far as like what I want to put out.
Nice. I could just picture you're like wherever you do your recordings at, just Post-its of like all these different things that you have, and you're just like, okay, this one and this, that's how I imagine it. It may not be that way, but that's how I imagine it.
Actually, I have just like a bunch of sessions on my laptop, and
I
listen back to stuff and like, oh God, that sucks. I kind of delete that, or maybe try it again, or something, But I have tons of stuff even stuff I've written on my phone, kind of like ideas for songs or whatever. So
nice.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see how it goes.
Well, 2020 can't come soon enough, man, especially for your work. And like I said, thank you, so much for coming on to the show and letting us know who you are as a person. That's like basically and I've said this multiple times, I just got to keep, telling people is the whole basis of this podcast is so that way fans can know who the people are that's behind the music, or gain, even new fans, basically. So this is like kind of like the part of the podcast where I let you kind of tell the people where can we find you.
Well, I'm definitely all over social media. Like I said, Instagram at Death of an Astronomer. Find me on Facebook. Just look up Death of an Astronomer on there. I do have a TikTok, but I haven't really kept up with it much because it hasn't been the platform that I've really kind of jumped on as much. And I think for musicians, it's kind of we're still kind of learning how to navigate through that.
It's definitely hit or miss.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, YouTube, Death of an Astronomer Music, Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, just pretty much everywhere you stream music is where you can find it. Definitely want to work on more YouTube videos and stuff like that. I did put out a music video for Synthesis end of last year, so of course you can check that out there. Yeah, man, pretty much I feel like I'm pretty much everywhere you can find music on social media.
Perfect. So it should give you guys listening and watching, you have no excuse. Definitely go and take your time and check this guy's stuff out. It's absolutely incredible. For one person to do the amount of work that is in these songs. My cat just threw something. Like the EP, stunning. Ethereal, I hope I'm saying that right. Stunning.
Yeah. It's ethereal. That's how
ethereal.
I think it's pronounced, but yeah.
Okay, ethereal. Like I said, I'm horrible with words. And then Digital Conversation, by far one of the most interesting tracks that you have. So people that are listening and watching, please take your time or take time out of your day and check this guy out, because I highly recommend it, and I know for a fact that you will not be disappointed. So that being said, this is the end of the episode. Until next time, you guys, we'll see you later. I can't